All right, we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Hustle Science Experiment. I'm super excited to tell you about Tyson DeLaCruz, who's joining us this morning. Tyson, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you, man. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna be dope. And for the folks that are tuning in right now, you can drop in your comments. We're gonna have so let me tell you a little bit about Tyson. Tyson's been in the real estate game for a couple of years. He's an active investor. He's done over 200 flips here in Las Vegas and across the nation. And Tyson is a really passionate dude. He's passionate about art. He's an artist. He hosts comedy shows. Um, he's got a YouTube channel. He's the host of his own podcast. He just really chases down his passions. And in this new journey, Tyson is starting a new real estate company, an innovative real estate company called Ascend. And I'll let Tyson tell you more about it, but I just can't wait to get into this. We've got a business lesson, a life lesson, but first, Tyson, could you share a little more about yourself and your journey and kind of that, what's brought you to today?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the warm, fuzzy introduction, man. Yeah, I've been doing real estate since 2014. A little bit before 2014, I was an REO agent, and then got into house flipping about 2000 end of 2015, mid 2015. And as an REO agent, I knew I didn't want to be a traditional real estate agent, but I knew I wanted to own properties and have rental properties and flip properties. So that's what I did in 2015. Started flipping real estate. Been flipping and investing in real estate since then, across the nation. We flipped and wholesaled in places like Las Vegas, Arizona, LA, St. Louis, Chicago, Arkansas. Yeah, and I think North Carolina. I think we had a nationwide wholesale brand. And in 2019, we had this huge team, and I had this intuitive hit in 2019 to kind of slow things down and kind of reduce where we're purchasing, wherever that intuitive hit came from, God, universe, whatever. So I decided to slow down, reduced our production, kind of minimized the team significantly. And then from there, I went on a sabbatical to Peru for a month. I stayed in the Amazon jungles for about a month. And then I came back. And by the time I got reintegrated to social life here in the big city, COVID happened. And,
Oh man.
call that grace of God, grace of the universe. But, that just allowed me to take a step back and really refocus on what I'm passionate about. During my time with expanding the real estate space, yes, we were making great money and we were flipping a lot of properties. Yet the thing that was missing, the component that was missing was the fulfillment component. So I wasn't incredibly fulfilled with that. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity to kind of reset. And that gave me a new vision. And in that new vision, which Elias was mentioning, is the rebrand of our real estate business, which is rebranded to Ascend, where we're focused on transitional living houses. 1 in 3 houses that we purchase will be converted into a transitional living home, where we'll help individuals overcome addiction, substance abuse, suicide intervention, anything behavior health related, and then also focus on creating a financial freedom for them on the back end, after they're recovered, and re-socialize them, provide them with workforce skills and job skills, so they can navigate through the workforce and create a new life for themselves. So that's what's actually been pulling me for the rebrand in the real estate space, and I'm really passionate about this project moving forward, man.
Yeah, dude, I love that, man. I love that you've discovered that passion and you've been on this journey of promoting mental health. Also investing in the Kaya Wellness Company. Do you want to share a little bit about that and why you've taken this direction towards, not just being that because real estate's gruesome, man. If all you do is real estate, and you're kind of like stuck in that zone, to talk about like why you've spent more time investing into mental health and mental health resources and this new, Ascend project.
Yeah, thanks, man. A little backstory. It's probably been about 8 years now. My grandfather passed away, and we were really close. He was a father figure to me, and he passed away, and that was the first death that I experienced that was like really close in my nucleus family. And after that, I experienced like severe depression, severe anxiety. I started drinking, and I was taking opioids. I wasn't like nodding out with opioids, but I was taking the opioids uh, and then drinking, because I didn't have to drink as much to get like as
Mm.
jacked up, right?
Yeah.
And that ruined a lot of relationships for me. And in that time, prior to that, I was on a path of like materialism and ego filled like business. And after I experienced the emotion of depression and anxiety, I discovered meditation, and I discovered a book that saved my life, which is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Read that, and was introduced to yoga practices and fasting, and adjusting my diet. And from that time, like I realized that the mental disorders that, or the mental emotions that people experience, um, we can ultimately heal those. And that has always been a passion of mine. Mental health, like after that, man, like mental health has just been a true passion of mine. And then I've sat with in a ceremonial setting, like with individuals, and they were actually able to overcome depression and anxiety through holistic healing modalities, whether that's plant medicine or yogas or breath work. And my intention of Kaya Wellness is to change the way that we view mental health, and change the way that people view therapists. And I feel, and I know wholeheartedly, that mental health is just like exercise. It's just like a proper diet. It's just like drinking enough water. It is so imperative to exercise our mental health to ensure that we can embody a powerful life, whatever that may be for each individual.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tyson, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's very vulnerable story, and everybody eventually goes through some death in their life, and I for me, I haven't experienced something that nucleus, right? So I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm grateful that you have been able to convert that negative experience, and some of the trauma that came as a result of that into something so healing, like Kaya Wellness, and promoting this, and kind of taking what you're really good at, which is real estate, and putting that towards a cause that's out there to make a positive difference in the world.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
So this was great, man. Thank you for the introduction. And folks,
Yeah.
if you have questions, just drop them in the comments and we'll get to them. But let's get into the business lesson of today, which oh, you know what? Before we do that, we do have a question. Thank you, Jeff, for dropping in. And his question is, any advice on helping people that are uncomfortable with expressing their vulnerability?
Man, I think ultimately it's creating that safe space, um, creating that container for somebody to feel fully expressive in themselves, right? And if an individual hasn't expressed themselves fully, because just a little backstory, I grew up in the 80s, so like Macho Man movies, Terminator, Sylvester Stallone, Jean-Claude Van Damme, like James Bond, like they were womanizers. Don't speak your emotions, you know pussies cry. But at the end of the day, like all of those things, like sharing your emotions are so important in healing, because I think so often as a society we push those down. And if somebody's not used to uh, expressing their emotions, it's going to be very difficult. I think the best exercise for that is to ensure that they're in a safe space where they're not going to be judged, where they're not going to be criticized, and the person like listening to whatever that other individual is saying, it's important to provide just positive feedback and hear them, not giving an opinion or any problem solving situation, but just hearing them. And then over time, that vulnerability will slowly increase to being more vulnerable with another person and expressing emotions. I hope that answered the question. Um, but that's just off the top.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks Tyson for jumping in, and thank you Jeff for the question. Um, let's get into the business lesson, which today is building lasting relationships and B2B. Why don't you take the floor, Tyson?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. So building lasting relationships B2B to ultimately increase your income. I believe Mark Cuban once said that business happens over years and years, and value is measured in the total upside of the business relationship, not necessarily how much you can squeeze out of one particular deal or one particular transaction.
Right.
uh, Relationships, building lasting relationships that will serve not only necessarily just that one transaction, but build lasting relationships on your forever endeavors, like whatever you decide to do. If you create those lasting relationships, regardless on what company you're with or what business you're doing, those relationships, those individuals will support you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I think that's super important. I mean, a lot of folks do try to squeeze too much out of the deal. And, I had this analogy growing up at some point. I don't remember where it came from, but it was like a towel. And if a towel's too, you're like, you got it wet and you're like getting some of the water out of it, right? So it's like coming out. But some people like squeeze it too hard. And I was never this strong, man. But like, you squeeze it so hard, it's dried, it breaks, right? Like, or it's like a plant that you don't water. So, maybe that's a childish way to remember it, but that's how I've always remembered is you got to like constantly pour into your relationships and not be too trying to get everything out of it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I think we have been in a societal culture where working overtime or working past the competition is like braggadocious.
Mhm.
Working over 60 hours a week or working on weekends and spending most of the time at the office in front of the computer. It's like, this grind culture, right? Where at the end of the day, instead of grinding and not necessarily being productive, just being busy, um, we can reduce those amount of hours that we spend quote unquote grinding and really being proactive about creating lasting relationships, because if we create lasting relationships, the referral sources will come through, right? Like just really connecting as a human, like those business endeavors will unfold just naturally. And I think that's one of the main reasons is how we like outbeat and outperform our competition by actually giving a crap about our relationships, man.
Yeah. What are some common ways that you see folks either mess up a relationship or yeah, let's start there and then we can get into some common ways that you think is a healthy way to build a relationship.
The question was like
What are
how
some
I,
common mistakes? Common
yeah,
mistakes people make.
yeah, I think people they ask for something too quickly prior to even engaging on the other individual's needs.
Yeah.
um, I think they don't, this sounds very like direct, but not providing enough value in the relationship. Because it's not so much like, what they can do for you, but what can you do for them, you know? It's something that I measure off of like social capital, right? Like, I think there needs to be a value add, and they ask too quickly. And when people ask, then they don't consistently follow up or actually listen to hear what the other individual actually needs. because maybe that relationship isn't for that particular business or that particular time,
Hmm.
but it's more of a cultivating an acquaintance to see if there's any alignment now or in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Folks do. It's a great you're pulling in JFK here, right? Ask not what you could do, ask not what your country could do for you, but ask what you could do for your country. But
Yeah,
I mean, it is a good formula. Just if you can be abundant in the value that you give out, then the value will come back to you. And
yeah,
as opposed to like scrounging for like where you can get, whatever it might be. I have a friend that's really good at this because he pitches about everybody that he knows, but he also gives a damn about all of his relationships, right? So he's like, you're not gonna buy it for me today. You're gonna buy it for me in 3 years. I just laughed with him. I was like, you know what? I got respect for that because you're right. Everybody
yeah.
will subscribe to you in some way if you just care about them and you be a friend first and not worry too much about your sales job.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like social capital can be defined as the trust between like two individuals or parties, right? And through that, through those like regular, consistent interactions,
Yeah.
that's when like business transactions actually occur.
So how do you balance that? How do you balance that? Really positive outlook on B2B relationship building, versus building your business at the same time. Like what's some advice you have for people to, expand their relationships in a way that's going to help them get to that transaction that they ultimately need to keep their business or their sales role moving forward.
Yeah, man. Something that I implement actually in my calendar. Um, it's actually a buddy of mine, Gerard Adams, um, gave me this technique, and I just kind of twisted it a little bit. But it's 3 times gratitude, and this typically happens. I have them scheduled different times in my day, but it's normally like anywhere from 2 to 4 o'clock when my day is kind of winding down. But 3 times gratitude. And I literally just open up my
I hope
contact
I'm
list.
something's happening. Am I lost?
Oh,
Uh,
you good?
yeah, I lost you for a second. I just switched over Wi-Fi's.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, so looks like we're back live, and you were just talking about a technique that Gerard Adams gave you three
Yeah,
times.
it was. Yeah, 3 times gratitude. So I have that in my schedule, typically at the middle of the day. When my day's winding down, I literally just open up my phone. Everybody in my contact list, I should be contacting, right? So in my phone. So I just literally like thumb scroll, like rapid thumb scroll, and I land on a person, and I shoot them a message, whether that's a voice note or a text message, and I just let them know like how grateful I am to have connected with them or done business with them. That's my like one of my techniques. I also like whether I'm working out or walking or driving, and somebody happens to come into my space, like into my thoughts. Uh, I message them right away, and I just say, "Hey, what's up? Just thinking about you," or "Hey, had a dream about you," or "Hey, this thing reminded me of you, and I wanted to say how much I appreciate you and how grateful I am to have connected with you." And that those are like little touches for me, um, just to keep our relationships going. Um, Gerard had mentioned this technique by putting 3 quarters on the desk, and they all face tails. And each person that you connect with, you just flip the quarter over. And that was a technique that he utilized. And I thought it was great. And then that's one of the techniques that I use today, man. It's great.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I'm gonna have to start practicing that myself. I mean, what an amazing way to connect with people, you in a genuine way, um, but also stay top of mind. With
Yeah.
the people that you care about, and they'll care about you as well. So I've gotta get 3 quarters and put them on my desk. Everything is digital and crypto these days.
Yeah.
Uh, I think this is a great segue to our moment of gratitude. Tyson, what are you feeling grateful for today?
Man, I am grateful for at the moment. I'm grateful for modern medicine. The reason why modern medicine is uh, I before this I came back from the doctors. I got some blood work done. Just wanted to make sure that all my levels are regular. If I'm deficient in anything, so I know what proper foods to eat, know what supplements to take. And without modern medicine, to being able to spin the hemoglobins and blood to actually see what I'm deficient in or efficient in, uh, I wouldn't know what to eat. So I'm super grateful for them.
That's awesome, man.
What
Well,
about you? What are you grateful for today?
dude, I'm grateful for people. I'm grateful for the students that, that I get to work with. Just working with younger folks. I've got Rico's book right up here. Rico rocks at problem solving. He's an 11-year-old entrepreneur, inspiring other entrepreneurs, and there's something about youthful energy, man. Like when I was, a teenager, I was like, go, 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 optimism, like the biggest optimist. I don't know if you can see that, but just and as I got older, started getting jaded sometimes, and so like surrounding myself with younger people, man, I'm grateful for that because it reminds me of that like relentless positive energy.
Yes, 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 man. Kids are great. Kids are filled with like abundance and like no F's given, right? Like
Yeah.
they can snowboard down a big hill, get tumbled and fall, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is the funnest thing ever."
Right. Yeah.
Now, 30 something years old, if I tumble down a hill, I'm like, "Oh man, I think I broke a rib," you know? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, dude.
yeah.
Well, I love it, man. Thank you for that. Um, our life lesson happens to be gratitude as well, and
Yeah.
so let's talk about it.
Yeah. I think when it comes to gratitude, man, gratitude has been a powerful component into like the evolution of who I be today. Because prior to like my grandfather passing away, uh, I never sat in gratitude. I was always chasing the next thing. And not to say that those things don't come up now, yet uh, I'm more aware of it, because every time and the more frequent that I sit in gratitude and abundance and appreciate the things that I actually have now, not the things that I want or intend to get, the more that I sit in the things that I have, the more things come to me. Like the more abundance that I have in my life, and I think, along the entrepreneurial journey, I've experienced, uh, you know, thoughts of like limiting beliefs or not having enough. But then when I sit back in a chair and think about all the things that I do have, a functioning computer, a house, air conditioner, a really cool phone, like a car to drive or transportation and food in the refrigerator, like these small things really create this like vibrational frequency inside my body, to make me feel happy. I feel happy, I feel abundant, and then these little things that happen throughout the day don't necessarily affect me as much. It's not that we don't have enough. I think that we just don't. And I'll speak for me, is that like in the past, it's not that I didn't have enough, it's just I didn't appreciate the things that I did have.
Yeah.
Small things like even like washing a car, right? Like, this is something that's newer to me, right? Like washing my own car is it it makes me appreciate the vehicle that I have more.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's but just on a note of gratitude, everything. I mean, that's a really great state to remain in and to be in, and the reality is we are so lucky to be alive in this generation, and there's so many things that we take for granted, and it definitely creates this lack mindset when you take everything for granted, and some folks might be stuck in there. Um, what do you do to cross the bridge from being stuck in a mindset of lack to shifting to a state of uh daily and consistent gratitude?
Yeah, it's a definite process, right? It's a process for those who haven't experienced it. One of the major key components is reflection,
Hmm.
um, journaling in the morning, expressing gratitude, and in the beginning, if somebody isn't privy to expressing gratitude on paper, it's going to be tough, right? Oh, I'm grateful for air. I'm grateful for my knees or whatever it is, but that's how it will start off. And as time progresses, um, you will become more appreciative for things. Um, I, s- I would say start off with morning journaling and then evening reflection, right? Three things that I'm grateful for. And I'll break down a couple different categories of three things that an individual can choose from on what they're grateful for. One is just something super basic and simple, like whether that's a house, a car, water, waking up. And then, another thing to pick from is maybe a past relationship or existing relationship. Um, Maybe somebody that you met yesterday, um, and then being grateful for something that's going to happen in the future, something to allow you to in the future, look forward to something in the future. And then in the evening, three times gratitude, writing three things that you're grateful for, uh, picking a moment in that day that made you smile or made somebody else smile, whether that's the cashier at Whole Foods or your experience at a restaurant, and just being grateful for the moments throughout the day, and being able to write those down and reflect on those, super powerful. And then on Sundays, or a few weeks down the road, look back at all of those things that you wrote down. What happens is you're like, oh wow, like that is cool. Like I was grateful for that person at the cashier. Like I made a joke, and she hooked me up with something for free or whatever it is. And then that continues that vibrational state.
Yeah.
Another component that uh, I do pretty frequently is in the notes section on my iPhone. Is I'm on social platforms, and people send like beautiful DMs or messages in the comments, and I actually screenshot those messages and save them in the notes section of my phone, and they're called pick me ups. Anytime I'm feeling funky, anytime I'm feeling down, I just go in there, I scroll, and I click a message, I click a voice note or a video that somebody sent me, and that just allows me to experience more gratitude for the things that are in my life. We have a lot of access to everything, right? Like we have
Yeah.
access to all the abundance. Just a lot of times we have a different lens that we don't see it.
Right. Yeah, I love that, dude. Those are some gems, for sure. I mean, the journaling, for gratitude, I think journaling is a really important place to be in. Taking your thoughts and being more focused and concentrated about it. I mean, hopefully, most folks listening are journaling already. Um, but those the pick me ups, that's a really good one. I want to start implementing that. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. Like if I go back and I just find what people have sent me, that's a great way to do it. And um, there is this youth group, like camp counseling event that participated in, and at the end of it, they did this thing called Warm and Fuzzies. Everybody had like a brown plastic bag, and they could drop like nice notes into everybody's thing. And at the end, you just take that home with you to read later. And so that was always uplifting.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's funny enough, man. Just 2 days ago, I was shopping, and the cashier just had a bright attitude. It was like, yeah, no problem. I got you. And I walked outside. I was like super hot, man. It was like 114 degrees. So I walked in all like, oh, it's so hot. Okay, I got some AC. And cashier like hooked me up with like doing the discount I needed. And I walked outside. I was like, that was great. I mean, yeah, it's hot, but like I just walked out with more positive energy and stuff.
Yeah.
Writing those down and go back to them and tap into that energy is a really good tactic.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something that I'd like to add too is giving. Like giving things that you're no longer using, whether that's a pair of shoes or a bike, or something, right? Like just giving with not having an expectation of receiving anything in return, to somebody that actually needs it is very gratifying too, because you are in a space of such abundance that you get to give something away to somebody. So that's another technique too.
That's dope. Tyson, thank you so much, man. Really
Yeah.
appreciated the conversation that we had today. Um, Tell us, how folks can get in touch with you. If you have a search of thing you want people to sign up for. I mean, this is an opportunity for you to kind of promote what you're working on right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for the opportunity to plug. Um, if you go to TysonDeLaCruz.com, there's a few PDF resources on TysonDeLaCruz.com. A few in relation to how to start up a meetup, how to get involved in the real estate, how to find me in regards of the real estate space, also how to invest in our syndication. And then there's also some mindset components in there, like if you're struggling with coping mechanisms, there's a mindset ebook and PDF available on TysonDeLaCruz.com. Also, if you go to KayaWellness.com, you can find some abundant resources on mental health and the services that we offer. And then our rebranded site, Ascend Living. You can head over to there and then check out what we're doing in regards of purchasing properties, and 1 out of 3 properties actually convert into transitional living. And then obviously you can catch me on the IGs at Tyson DeLaCruz, and then Facebook.
Sweet, man. Yeah, thank you, Tyson. This again, dude, it's been a great conversation. I hope folks go sign up, and if you have questions or comments, drop them in the chat. Tag me, or in the comments, tag Tyson, and we'll do our best. We'll most definitely get back to you. So just drop in a note. Tyson, thanks again for doing this.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. This was super fun, man. I really appreciate you, bro. I really do.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise. Too
Thanks,
many
man.
more, everybody. We'll do